Hello. Did you hear me? Okay.
Test.
Testing. Yes,
There
it
you go.
works.
And then we have the other mic.
And then this works. Oh, yes. Okay.
Awesome.
We're good.
And let's make sure they connected that right.
And you're going to make that announcement.
Something died. Oh, yeah.
Oh, we have a sign up sheet if they're interested. But yeah, because this doesn't have to be filmed because it's for locals. Okay.
Kyle, do you have the little backup? Oops, hold on. Do you have the connector or the thing? Here, I'll just do it. I'll tell you.
Okay.
Test 1 2. Okay, awesome. Thanks you guys for being patient while we figured out a couple technical difficulties. So we're starting just a couple minutes late, but I'll make my introduction brief. But before we do, we have for those of you locally, there's going to be a garden barn raising. Do you guys know about regenerative farming or permaculture? Okay, so probably the best food forest. Do you guys know what a food forest is? Okay, food forest is you throw a whole bunch of trees and vegetables in one place. It creates its own microclimate, and you can have things growing all the time. And it's you don't have to deal with anything. It takes care of itself. Does that make sense? Probably the best one in Utah that I know of is in Orem, and one of our clients, one of our friends here, she teaches people how to do it, and she has a bunch of students, and then I think she picks one of the students who comes up with the design, and they call it a barn raising, but they plant a whole food forest, and they teach people how to do it. She wanted me to let everybody know that this Saturday, I believe. Let me take a look at this. Okay, we have. That's funny. There is a date on this. So this Saturday, May 10th. No, is that this
Yeah,
Saturday?
this Saturday.
Okay, this Saturday, May 10th, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's going to be at 2166 East, 6675 South, Cottonwood Heights. And if anybody's interested in this here, just go ahead and sure, you bet. Awesome. Also, do we have, where's Celeste? Do we have the little card? We're going to encourage, if you guys don't mind, we're trying to help people find us on Google for Food Storage Depot. We got Thrivalist and Food Storage Depot, but for people to be able to find us here, we're asking people to just take a little bit of time and give us a little review online. That would help us to be seen on Google, if that makes sense. So, Celeste, if you can get that, we could just pass that around, and there's a little QR code, and you can just snapshot it, and that would be awesome to help us out. So, thank you so much. Anyway, did I get all the announcements? Is that good? Celeste, did I miss anything? Not at all?
We have
Okay.
any more classes coming up this month?
No, I've been trying to get my PowerPoints done to be able to teach a few more classes to finish up the course. And every time I try, I just get bombarded with other things I got to get done. So I'm trying to find time to get it done. But hopefully, if you see an email come out from me this week, um, hopefully this week, I might be teaching on sanitation and maybe even communications next week. So which will be pretty fun. We'll get into a whole bunch of fun stuff with GMRS radios and ham radios and whatever else. I got to keep it simple enough but fun enough, right? At the same time. But we'll see. So go ahead and pass that around. This is the QR code right here. And if you guys don't mind passing that across, and if you just take a second to do that, that would be awesome. Oh, and it's in the wrong one. Are you sure? So it looks like the right one. Kyle, are you sure? That's what I'm saying. It should be on the right one. I'm looking at it right now. Okay, you might have to. You just take a look at it. Did anybody unplug anything from the back of the TV? That's probably a good question. If not, then it should be working. You might have to just undo, like cancel the TV portion of it, and then reboot it. There's a way to do that. So that might be it. Is this, do you see anything at all, Kyle, or is it just stuck? You say again? Rainbow lines. Okay, that sounds like it's stuck. So let me do this. I'm going to unplug this for a second, and then we're going to plug it back in, okay?
Did everybody get the paperwork over here?
Okay, tell me if anything shows up, Kyle. And let's see. Let's see if this works. Can you help me get your computer going? Okay, those online, we're still having technical difficulties, so
There.
just a minute. Okay, Kyle, are you seeing that yet? Still no. Okay. Can you guys hold on just 1 minute? I want all those people online to be able to see the slides, and that way they don't have to guess what we're talking about. If you can just give me a minute.
We'll do a song and dance in the meantime to entertain the crowds. Let me entertain you. Hi, I'm Mitzi, and this is
I'm Catherine.
my friend Catherine. And we are horticulturists. I'll do our own introduction so Marcella doesn't have to. Come here. Come here.
I'm shy of the camera, not her.
We are horticulturists, and we work locally. I have worked at Larkin Sunset Gardens as a landscape manager. I ran the Jordan Applied Technology Center horticulture program for 7 years, sent FFA to state and nationals, etc. Here's my master's project. I just lost that. High school horticulture curriculum for diverse student populations. So, anyway, I was here for 2 years full-time working with Celeste, and then I got a call this summer saying, hey, we need you back at the school. A teacher just quit and school starts in 2 weeks. So I'm back teaching plant science and earth science and 7th grade science and environmental science. So anyway, Catherine is very talented also. She is a horticulturist professionally. She has her own business, landscaping, and she is a florist at the Rose Shop, the premier floral shop in Utah. And this is Mother's Day week, so she's really busy. But she has graciously come here. We work together doing landscaping. Well, actually, our together job right now is just one huge landscape up in Heber. Anyway, but we have experienced lots of years together, lots of years collectively. Anyway, we are excited to share with you a few tips that we have learned about gardening. And if you go to the thrivalist.com member website, you will see 2 other classes that we have taught last spring, 2024, and the spring before that, 2023. And so we're going to build upon the knowledge that those classes provided for you. The first class was very heavily based in plant science, and just to teach you about the science of botany. And then we got into the procedures of planning your garden. Last year, it was very heavily based in the procedures, the step-by-step. You do this first, and that first, and that first, or next, and next, on how to plan and start your garden. This year, we have decided to focus on some tips and tricks, and entitled our series, Increasing Your Garden Abundance, because now you need to maximize your space, lower your time that you invest in it, and maximize your return, so your productivity of your garden. And we're going to give you some ideas on how to do that. This class will be posted on thrivalist.com, so you can see it whenever you want. You're welcome to take notes today, or you can go watch it again and again, whatever you would like. And we're going to, this is a hands-on lab, so you guys at home, we want you to also get a piece of graph paper, so you can just run and get a piece of graph paper and a pencil. And we're going to have to post this little chart. I don't have one here handy, do I? There it is. So we'll have to post this chart so that you guys at home can get this. This is the Utah State Extension Vegetable Planting Guide, and the people that are here have a hard copy of it. If you are local and you're just not here tonight, you're welcome to come and get a copy of it when you're in the store. If you are in another state, you are welcome to go to your state extension service. They probably have this. It's a wonderful list, and it talks about the vegetables and when you plant them and how much you get, how deep, and all that.
We did it. Okay, so for
Yay!
those of you online, we figured it out. We had to reboot a whole bunch of stuff or get something working, but you're going to be able to see the slides tonight. So without any further ado, let's introduce Mitzi and Catherine,
We
two
did.
of our,
We did.
my goodness, you guys didn't
did.
even wait for me. But anyways, let me do it officially.
Okay.
Anyway, Mitzi and Catherine, and for those of you, these are two of the best horticulturists in Utah.
Getting
And
better and better.
and they happen to be part of our team, so we're really grateful for that. Anyway, you already started, but I didn't know that because I was working on that. So I'll
Thank
just
you.
let you guys keep going.
All right. Thank you. All right. Without further ado, thank you very much. We will begin. All right. This is what we want, right? Wonderful, delicious, organic produce that is healthy for you, and it hasn't been sprayed with pesticides. It hasn't been whatever whoever does to our produce nowadays. You have control of this. If it's under your control, then you decide what you're going to do with it. So we want you to have an abundant harvest. Let's get started. Okay, begin with the end in mind. A man named Stephen Covey came up with the 7 habits, and you might be familiar with the 7 habits. This is one of them. This is one of my favorites. Begin with the end in mind. So think about what you want at the end, and then procedurally you can make the steps possible to achieve that. You just put one foot in front of the other, and pretty soon you're at the finish line. All right, so we're going to talk about these topics. Planning your garden. We're going to have you guys start planning your garden today. We're going to give you a little bit of what how-tos and what-fors, and how to extend your season, how to plant cool season crops twice, not just once, to maximize your harvest, succession planting, companion planting, interplanting, extensive planting, growing vertically, and growing in containers. Here we go. Hang on. All right, planning your garden. Plan your work, then work your plan. I tell my students this all the time. Plan your work. So we need to start with a plan. Whenever you build a house, what do? Do you just go to the Home Depot, pick up some lumber and some nails and go, let's see, where should we put this? No, my son's a builder in South Carolina, and you have to start with a plan. So we're going to start with a plan. You need to have a drawing, so we're going to do that. But first, this is your assignment. I'm a teacher. I can give you assignments. You're going to be able to explore the possibilities of what you want. So this exercise is going to make your mouth water, okay? We'll have to pass the tissues around. What are you wanting to plant? So I would like you to take the list of vegetables that you have in front of you on your clipboard. And for those of you at home, think about all the vegetables that you could possibly grow, or the vegetables you love to eat. We're mostly talking about vegetables today. And make a list. What vegetables do you want to eat? What vegetables do your family like to eat, or your best friend, or your kids, or whatever? And I'm going to give you 1 minute. Go. Oh, that's my problem all the time. Don't have room.
You don't have room for all that you want to plant.
Yeah.
So that's when you have to decide what is it that you really, really.
We might help you with that. There's no second hand on that clock. Okay. Eggplant, bell pepper, broccoli, cauliflower, lettuce, mushrooms, onions, radishes, cabbage.
15 seconds.
You could also just with a pencil, put a little mark on the side of your list. But you guys at home, you're going to be writing out those words. And you can just keep writing as we go along. You're going to see some pictures. All right. I see most people are done with their initial list. I'm sure you're going to add to it. All right. Now, I would like you to make a quick sketch of your garden space. You're going to refine it later. But right now, just kind of whatever space you have on the graph paper. Mm-hmm. Quick sketch of your garden space. And then we're going to have you, after you've kind of drawn it out, don't worry about how many squares right now is 1 foot, your scale. Don't worry about that yet. Just.
What does your garden currently look like? The shape, the length, roughly.
Can you describe bubble diagram to them?
Okay, for landscape design.
Can you hear Catherine all right? Kyle?
There.
Okay.
So for landscape design, you start with a plan exactly like this, where it's just, you take the area and then you just start making bubbles or circles of where you want something to be. So in a landscape design, we might say, I want this area for my patio. This area, I'm going to have a working shed and utility area. This is where I want to entertain. So for a vegetable garden like this, you would take and just if you want something in a row, you want it to do mass planting, then you just make a circle on your garden space that you've drawn and say, this is where I want beets. This is where I want my cucumbers. This is where I want my lettuce. So,
all right. Yes. Wait a minute. We don't have we need a microphone.
Right, where'd it go?
Where's the microphone?
What's your question? We'll just repeat it.
I know some things grow well together and others are not compatible. Should we just fix that later?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to get into companion planting, and we have a homework assignment for you to do more research. Yes. All right.
There we go.
So we're going to refine this in a little bit. Now, when you're planning your landscape for your yard, it's the same process. You will sketch out your area, and then you will say, okay, I want the playground over here. I want a trampoline over here. I want the patio here. And I want the shed there. And this is where the front beds will be. And I want a lawn area here. And it's called a bubble diagram. Same thing for gardens. And now we refine it. Okay. Now you can add which vegetables do you want to plant more of so that you can preserve them. To dehydrate them, dehydrator cookbook here, or freeze dry, I don't have my freeze dryer cookbook, or can in jars. These are freeze dried red bell peppers and freeze dried orange bell peppers. I freeze dried them myself. This was just the extra that wouldn't fit in the number 10 can. So we have a dry pack here. Or freeze for your next winter's meals. So you might want to plant a little extra of some things. You can put a plus next to that vegetable if you want to plant a lot of it, or a minus if you just want to plant a little bit of it. For example, if you like zucchini, pick and eat, but you're not going to want a whole bunch of it, don't plant 5 or 6 plants of zucchini, because then you'll be doorbell ditching your neighbor with it. And you will have utilize your nutrients out of your garden for a vegetable that you don't really need that much of. So, and then which ones will you just pick and eat and enjoy? All right. Can you do this part? Oh, I gotta drink.
Okay, so we're not going to have you do this today, but you're going to take your graph paper, go out and measure your exact space. Then you'll know when you do your diagram how much space you actually have to work with. How many of you have already measured? No. Okay, few of you. How many of you have raised beds? A lot of you. Okay, so raised bed gardening is a nice way to garden. I know some people have opinions that raised beds are not as efficient. You don't utilize as much on the space that you have, but I love the raised beds. It's easier also on your back, right? So, okay.
Square foot gardening book.
Yes. But in ground is also a nice way to do your vegetable garden.
Yep. Okay, click. All right, now the how-tos and the what-fors. We're getting into the nitty-gritty here. All right, first is soil preparation. This is super important. This is a rich, nutritious soil is the basis of garden abundance. This is where your abundance begins. If you don't have good, nutritious soil, you won't have much going on in your garden. And really it starts year after year after year. And the best time to add organic matter is in the fall. And you dig it in, throw a few earthworms in there, some ground up, whatever. Do you want to go into, well, is there another time to go into that?
Yeah.
Okay. Throw some, earthworms and 1 or 2 inches of compost every fall. And you dig that in, and the microbes will go to work on it. By spring, it'll be, whoa, beautiful and rich. And magic. All right, temperature and light is super important. Most seeds germinate between 65 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you put them in the ground and the soil's only 45 or 50 degrees, do you think they'll do anything? They'll go, oh, it's too cold. Where's my blankie? I'm going to stay inside for a while. But they will germinate best between those temperatures, some a little cooler and some a little warmer. And most seeds germinate best, or some seeds germinate best in the dark, and some seeds need a little bit of light to germinate. So that comes with your research, figuring out what you need. This book is awesome, Seed Sowing and Saving. It has all kinds of, here's spinach, all kinds of detailed information about each one of your crops. So I've collected books over the years. I'm sure you have too. These are great resources to have on hand. So, cool season plants. Cool season versus warm season. Cool season plants like the temperatures a little cooler. How many of you like to sleep with your window open? Thought so. How many of you really prefer being warm? Pile on those blankets. Me too. So we have cool season and warm season people too. Well, plants are individuals also. Cool season plants grow best in cooler temperatures. So we would normally plant those in the spring and then again in the late summer for fall harvest. Most of those can handle a frost. I know peas, they love a little bit of frost on them. It actually makes them taste better. Most cool season plants will bolt in the summer. It means they send up a flower stalk. As soon as those temperatures go up, woo, it sends up that flower stalk, and then the leaves are bitter and it's just not any good anymore. So bolting can be delayed. Catherine, would you like to talk about how bolting can be delayed?
If you have a crop of lettuce, spinach, kale. Okay.
Back and forth.
So if you have those leafy greens, and then if you're continually harvesting them, it'll actually delay your plants from bolting.
Good.
I know that I've let it even just 1 week, and when the temperatures increase, then there they go.
Yep.
Not worth it
Thank
anymore.
you. All right, warm season plants. Oh, we're going to get into which is which in a bit. Warm season plants, they like warm weather. And those are the ones like beans and such that you wait until after the last frost to plant them, because they like warmer temperatures and they're fine in the summer. They're going, give me more sun. They need warmth and light to mature. All right, should you plant seeds or starts? Do you want to do this one?
Sure.
Okay.
I have a list of plants that I like to sow directly into the soil. And then I have a group that I like to get starts or buy starts or start starts of my own. Usually any of your squashes, your cucumbers, carrots, radishes, beans, beets. That's my list that I don't go to the nursery and buy any of the starts. It's just, they're so easy to come up and to germinate that
In the soil.
in the soil.
You want to direct sow
seed.
those.
Yeah. And then your tomatoes and peppers, basil, those are your ones that you're going to want to either start on your own or you can purchase them.
Yeah. Make sure when you get those young plants, we call them starts, when you get those young plants, either buy them or grow them yourself, that you get them used to their spot they're going to be in. That's called hardening off. It's toughening them up.
And most of your nurseries and your big box stores and that have already, at least this time of year, they've already had them outside. They're already hardened off, so they're good to go. So it's just mainly the ones that you have grown yourself.
Now, my experience is even though I have bought it at a nursery or a garden center or something, I don't know if they did that for sure. So I recommend that you take your little plant and you put it outside on the east side of your house in the morning and you give it some nice morning sun, but just morning sun. After 12 o'clock, it needs shade. And then the next day you move it so it gets a little bit more sun, maybe another hour or two. And the last, you do that over about 5 or 6 days until by day 6, it should be the pot is sitting on top of the soil in the spot where it's going to be planted. And you're watching that, making sure it's not going wilting from the heat or anything, too much sun, that it's used to its spot. By that time, it's going, yeah, I'm ready to go. I'm tough. So you're toughening them up. All right. Did we talk about everything there? You want to go back?
Nope.
Direct sowing. So we can direct sow our plants. Either, I don't like personally using a single row. One single row of carrots. And then you have a wide pathway to walk in on each side. What a waste of soil that is. I like to have wide rows. So I broadcast in a wide row, and we're going to show you how to do that. Or a few of you are going to help us teach everybody how to do that a little later on. Or you can plant in block areas. I have planted, when I lived in Arizona, I have planted a big block area, probably about the size of this room. And I just mass planted it. No walkways in between. I had rainbirds that would water it or something. And then when it's harvest time, I started on one end and went through the other end. That is when you want to do your canning or your freeze drying or preserving in some way. You want a lot of produce at one time. So there's different ways you can direct sow. All right, click. All right, heirloom versus hybrid. Anybody know what is an heirloom? Mike? I don't know where the mic is. Oh, Marcelo has the mic. What is an heirloom?
I think it's just an original. It hasn't been modified or crossbred with anything.
Here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, it's an original plant. It's like a purebred dog, for example, but in the plant world. It hasn't been crossed with species A and species B of that genus. Hasn't been crossed. It is a pure plant. And those, you can save those seeds. Let me show you. This was a bell pepper. I think it was a yellow bell pepper. And I saved the inside of it that has all these seeds on it. And it's just drying out for a couple weeks. And then the seeds, when I rub it, the seeds are just going to come right off. And then I will put that in an envelope. Here's an example. My dad used to save his seeds from his heirloom plants in envelopes and taught me how to do that. He was a great horticulturist. This is an heirloom hammy cantaloupe. I bought a cantaloupe and I noticed it was heirloom. And when opened it, I got the seeds out, rinsed them really good, and got the strings out and let them dry, air dry, and then put them in an envelope. An envelope has air that goes in and out. Air molecules are very small. So this is a porous way. If you put it in plastic, it could, the air can't go in and out. Seeds are actually needing air. They need to metabolize very slowly, but they need air. So then you can take these any season that you want, put these in the ground, and you know that whatever comes up will look just like the parent plant. It's awesome. And look at all those seeds. You didn't have to buy these. This will plant like an acre from one fruit. There are different companies that you can, catalog companies that you can buy heirloom seeds from. This one is Baker Creek in Missouri. This is Mountain Valley seed. I'm not sure if this is lettuce butter crunch. I don't know if this is an heirloom because it doesn't say. So if it doesn't say, I don't know if it's a hybrid or not. A hybrid is when you take genus species A with that same genus and species B, and you take the pollen from one and you dust it on the female flower of the other one, and they cross, and all of their children, the F1 generation, are a mixture. I just taught genetics this year to my 7th graders. It's a mixture. It could end up having the characteristics of mom or dad or both or whatever. So you don't know what you're going to end up with. Or a hybrid could be sterile. Many hybrids can't reproduce. So heirlooms are the way to go. Okay, fertilizer. Do you want to focus on that one?
Go ahead.
Okay, all right. There's different, fertilizer comes in different formulations. There's granular, let's see, this one's probably a granular, grow well, organic, tomato and vegetable. And you typically sprinkle that on the soil and incorporate it into your soil. This is called Osmocote. This is a time release. You know those time release vitamins? A little layer dissolves and then it exposes the vitamin, and then another layer dissolves eventually. Same thing, time release. So this can feed your plants for 3 or 4 months perhaps, which is awesome. Not too much. This is a liquid fertilizer. It's fish fertilizer. It's a liquid from fish emulsion. Very nutritious. It's only a 5-1-1, 5% nitrogen, 1% potassium, and 1% phosphorus, or vice versa. And it has a low formulation, but it's very nutritious for your plants. And you mix that with water and water it in, kind of like Miracle Grow. Anyway, it comes in different formulations. So she and I really prefer that we use compost as our fertilizer. One year I was building this house, and it was on a ½ acre, and it was brand new house, brand new yard, and the soil was very clay soil, and they had previously been growing lots of different crops, mostly alfalfa, so a lot of the nutrients had been taken out. Well, that summer, I paid for 17 6-yard dump truck loads of compost to be delivered to my yard. Then I hired a neighbor with a tractor, and he spread it all out, and then he tilled it in with his tractor tines as deep as possible, about 1 foot deep. I didn't have to add any fertilizer for 10 years. It was awesome. And that garden, I went to farmer's market with the produce for several years. It was a great, great thing. Organic matter. You know when they say when you're buying a house, location, location, location? Well, when you're planting a garden, it's organic, organic, organic. That's the way to go. All right. Oh, there it is. The formulation. The first number on your fertilizer label is your percent by volume of nitrogen. So in this example, it has a 29% nitrogen that's in that container. Phosphorus is, in this case, is 0, no phosphorus. And the last number stands for potassium, for plant vigor. Anyway, yeah, those nutrients our plants need really well. And that's in another video. Okay, when do you apply it? When your plants are little tiny babies. You know how when you're feeding your baby apple juice and you can't give it full strength apple juice? You need to cut it 50-50. Same thing with your little baby plants. They need, if anything, when they're first germinating, no fertilizer. Not until they have their first true leaves. They'll have their primary leaves and the cotyledons, and then their first true leaves. I usually wait till the second set of true leaves until I start fertilizing, because it could, like what we call, burn them. So, okay, next. All right, to water. You want to keep your plants evenly moist. So many people either overwater or underwater, and plants really like an even, just like we eat 3 meals a day, plants like an even amount of water, just kind of nicely moist, not sitting in a swamp and not in a desert. Water is the most important nutrient that they need, and we have to make sure that they have it, but not in excess. Also in this picture, you see water coming from the top down. That's typically not good, especially for tomato plants. It could cause them to have some disease problems. Typically plants like water at the root zone, so drippers, a drip system might be good, or emitters of some sort. When you're watering, you need to water the entire root zone and a little below where you think those roots are. The roots will chase the water down, and you need to not just water the top inch, because the atmosphere is a big dry vacuum going, and it sucks the water out from the top, and the soil dries out from the top down. So if you've only watered, I water my garden every day for 4 minutes, 3 times a day actually, I'm doing a really good job. Well, you're watering about that much, if that, depending on what kind of emitters or sprays you have. And so you need to get that water down a good 6-8 inches, okay? And then your plants will grow deeper. Okay, what else?
So
Yes.
I've been planting in a community garden for several years, been struggling with the soil and the watering, and that soil in there has lacked organics. And when I would stand there and water for a half hour on 2 80-foot rows, I thought, oh, I've got plenty of water. Then I would stick my finger down in or break up the soil to weed after I had watered, and it was still powdery dust underneath that ½ inch, ½ inch. So that's another reason to have the organics, but making sure your soil is where you want it to be so that it can saturate down instead of
Right.
just puddling on top.
And over here, the fourth bullet down says irrigate in the early morning, not in the late afternoon, and definitely never at night. Because there's fungi that love wet and dark. And they're going to plug up the xylem, the stems of your plants with their goo. And you don't want that. So you want the plants to water. You want to water them in the morning. That way the sun comes out, dries out their leaves, and they're not sitting real wet. Okay, extend the season. Can you get this out and show us? So they used to make walls of water, but I looked for wall of water, that brand, and I didn't see it. I don't know, but there's a different company that makes the similar product. These are really cool. It's an insulated plant protector. Dalen. Okay. So what you do, on one end of this, it's sealed off.
That one's
There. And so this is the bottom where it's sealed off. And the other end is open. So it's a sheet of plastic, and then every so many inches, the front side has been fused to the back side. Thank you. The front side has been fused to the back side. So you have these sections where you can pour water in each one of these little sections, and you will have water in there. And as you can see, thank you, it will stand up, kind of like a little teepee around your plant. I have used these with tomatoes and potatoes. You can actually start your plants early if you have one of those around them. Because the sun in the daytime will warm up the water, and it will slowly release the heat at night. Have you ever noticed when you're by the beach or by a large body of water, by the ocean, that the temperature is moderated? Water will do that. Water absorbs and releases heat slower than air. That principle is what's going on here. So it's gradually releasing the heat to the plant inside at night. And that way you can start your plants early. So it's awesome. Okay, go. Okay, start earlier. You can start 4 to 6 weeks this way before the last frost date. And here in zone 6A, part of this area is 6A, the last frost date is May 15th. Wherever you are, you at home, online, somewhere around the country, your last frost date might be different from this. I know my son in Texas, do they even have a frost? I think they do. It's soon to be 100 degrees down there. So wherever you are, go to your extension service. Every state has an extension service. It's with the state university usually. So Utah State University's extension service is extension.usu.edu. Just Google extension service for your state, and you will find some wonderful help. They have all different kinds of resources, how to take care of your fruit trees, your lawns, your gardens, canning advice, all kinds of things. There's one for South Carolina and one for Texas. I have kids in those states, that's why I put those up. Okay, next. All right, this is the USDA Plant Hardiness Zone map. You can find your state or wherever you live and see where the minimums temperatures are, the average annual extreme minimum temperatures. And that's how they came up with this zone map. If you want to move to a different state, you might consult this also. I have kids that moved to a very cold area in the north. I'm sure that they knew, but yeah. Okay, next. All right. What do I need to get started to extend my season? You need some grow lights and a shelf. I like to use a metal shelf unit with several shelves on it, and underneath the upper shelf, I will attach a fluorescent light or two, depending on how wide the shelf is. And then you put your plug flats. Can you show me a flat over here, Catherine? This is called a flat. Is a web flat because the bottom of it looks like a spider web. And then you can put these little cells. You can save these when you buy them at the nursery. Buy your plants in there, your little starts, and reuse them. Make sure you sterilize them with bleach and such before you reuse them to kill any microbes that might be on them. Fill it with a nice fine potting mix. Can you hold up the seedling mix? There's different mixes. This is a seedling mix. Bring it over here. The seedling mix doesn't have big pieces of bark in it. It has fine materials. They're just right for the seedlings. Okay? So you'd put that in there. And what I like to do with my, I call them plug trays. This isn't really a plug tray, but you can, I put some water in the bathtub and plug it up and then set that in there. And osmosis, it just pulls it right back up, and you don't have to flood it from the top and make it all wash out. So it's called bottom watering. Or unless you have a bin that's big enough, those big black bins with the yellow lids you get at Home Depot, that's big enough for this. You can put that in there to water them. Thank you. All right. And we're going to show you pictures of all these other ones. Click. And we just showed you these water-filled plant insulators. Yes, sir.
Is it possible to keep wall waters on too long?
Yes, he's asked if it's possible to keep the wall of water on the plant too long. Yes. What happens when it gets hot? Like here in Salt Lake Valley, it's going to get to be about 81 or 82 degrees this coming weekend. And if you have wall of waters around your plants and that sun shines on them, it's going to be like intensive greenhouse. And it might burn your plants. So it might be too warm. So you have to kind of judge when is the time to take those off and put the cage on it. Good question. Okay, this is a row cover. It's frost cloth. Can you show us? There we go. There's different thicknesses of frost cloth. If you put frost cloth over your plants, you might want a little structure or something to prevent it from sticking to the plant, keep them up above, so the air inside here. This is a little thicker. This is my sister's. I raided her shed yesterday. Nice thick frost cloth, and then I have a really thin one I'm going to show you too. This will protect your plants. If you don't have frost cloth, get a sheet or a thin blanket. Throw it over your plants. You do this in the spring, if you plant early, also in the fall. Here, our first frost is around the middle of October. And when you just have to watch the forecast. And if the forecast is going 40 degrees, you put that cloth on it in the afternoon when it's still a little bit warm, like about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe 5. You put that frost cloth on there or that sheet and weigh it down with some rocks or some bricks so it doesn't blow off. And that'll protect it a few degrees. Next. Oh, there's a clicker. Okay, cold frame. This is another way you can extend your season. It's a structure that you build, and the top has a hopefully translucent at least cover on it, and you keep it open in the daytime when it's warm, and then you close it at night, and it'll protect your plants in there. This is even better than frost cloth, but it takes a little bit of time to build it. They don't have a bottom on them, so you can lift it off and store it somewhere. So if you have a big property, then you can have a place to store it. But most of us don't here in the city. But that's a great idea.
I have seen people build them on the side of their house so that some of the heat from the foundation and the house will come through. So
Right.
that's a good place for one.
Yeah, I had an awesome crop of tomatoes last year on the south side of my house. So when the sun came and heated up the side of the house, and it bounced off and heated up those tomatoes, they loved it. Plus, and then at night, the house was slowly radiating its heat and heating them up even more. So that's a great thing. If you have a brick wall on the south side, that works even better. You do have to watch it in the summertime though. It also helped that I double dug a hole about this deep and filled it a third compost and a third soil, or 2/3 soil. So they had lots of yummy food, and I grew the biggest tomato plants. Okay, next, hoop house. A hoop house is similar to a greenhouse, but this is more portable. So a hoop house, you can make this with PVC as they have done here, and put some at least 6 mil or thicker plastic over the top. You can also put an inner layer if you can attach it. So you have airspace in between as an insulator. That's what they do commercially. So that's a way to extend your season. Next, and this is a greenhouse. A greenhouse technically has heating and cooling equipment. So that's the technical difference between the two. This was a student greenhouse. You see the kids somewhere in the country. Next. Plant cool season crops early. They love the cold. So you can plant them early. Start some indoors when it's still snowing outside. They can germinate when they're indoors, like your broccoli, your Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower. And then outside, when the soil temperatures reach at least 50 degrees, these crops can be planted outside. Direct sow, put your seeds in the ground. Your collards and kale, lettuce, onions, peas, radish, spinach, and turnip. Peas, actually, when do you plant peas, Catherine? Around here in this area, zone 6A.
That would probably be, 3-4 months or 3-4 weeks ago.
3 or 4 weeks ago? Yeah, so end of March, early April, you can plant your peas, typically. Okay.
Mitzi, are you going to talk about different zones? I know it came from California, and I don't know if you're going to cover
Yeah,
that.
we did.
Oh, you did. Got it.
Yeah, you see the zone map? You got to
No,
see what
I mean, are you
zone-
going to talk about when to plant in those zones, like in
Oh.
California?
That you need to go to, so if you're in a different zone, then you go to your extension agent, and the details will be there on their extension agency website. They'll tell you when to plant according to your particular areas. And each state has different zones in it. So you have to see what zone your house is in. Okay, thank you. Okay, warm season crops. They like to be planted after your last frost. Around here, it's typically around Mother's Day. That's why we're doing our class now. Before Mother's Day, this includes your corn, cucumbers, eggplants, green beans, melons, peppers, potatoes, squash, and tomatoes. You could probably get by with planting your potatoes a little earlier than that, even the end of April, because you're gonna dig a deep hole, 8 inches or something,
I usually do a foot.
a foot.
If I can get it that deep.
Yeah, if you can get it that deep. You put your seed potatoes in the ground. You can get your seed potatoes at like Tractor Supply, IFA, something like that. And you cut them in sections. So there's at least 2 eyes on them. And one goes down as a root, the other goes up as a shoot. And you have a plant. You want to plant them deep. And then a lot of people pile up compost on top of them as they grow. It further helps them to develop, and then use a pitchfork to harvest. They're so good. Fresh potatoes out of the garden. Oh my gosh, you'll never want store-bought potatoes again.
We had
Okay.
a question over here.
Yeah. Oh, question. Yes.
So can you plant potatoes in those grow bags?
Yes.
And then
The question was, can you plant the potatoes in the
in
black grow bags?
Yes, right. And then when you harvest them, I know you spread them out kind of into a single layer.
Yes.
How long do you need to let them kind of cure before you actually cook them or store them? Because I know you don't want to
No.
like use them right out of the ground. Doesn't the skin need to kind of toughen up a little bit?
Yes. And your soil is dry on the outside.
Right. And how long do you do that, and how do you do that?
I haven't grown them much myself. I just eat them a lot. Just, I'm not that technical about them, but I don't know. What would you say? A week, 2 weeks max?
My answer is I don't know, but I will find out for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Next. All right. Plant cool season crops twice. You want to take this one?
Yeah. Okay, so oftentimes we get through our summer and we've have some empty spaces where our cool season crops were, and we just kind of neglect that or wonder what am I going to do with this space. I learned a method where in the end of July, that early, I usually would do it in August, depends on our temperature for the season. I would take those areas and direct sow seeds in the ground, and then take a piece of burlap and cover the whole area with that. And then once, after you've planted the seeds, covered them with your burlap, you take and water directly through, right over the top of your burlap. And there's several advantages. It keeps the soil moist. It shades the new seedlings from the hot sun. And then you can, again, make use of the place where all your cold season crops were earlier in the season. And then once you see that they're big enough, there's
We have a slide about
somewhere.
it. There's Catherine.
You'll be able to, once those get, you can see them kind
There
of
it is.
poking through. See, they start there. They'll poke through the burlap, and then once they get big enough, then you can remove the burlap and continue to grow your cool season crops for the remainder of the season. So
Okay.
it's been a nice little find of a method to extend that.
Okay, so what cool season crops do you want to plant? Here's a great list. So we got broccoli, cabbage, carrots, cauliflower, kale, lettuce, peas, radishes, spinach, and Swiss chard. Love Swiss chard. Butter and salt. Oh, so good. This is a purple cauliflower that Catherine pulled out of the garden.
When I planted these, I thought I was planting cabbage because it said cabbage on the container. And so I had planted 12 cabbages that season. And as I started seeing things change with the plants, the color, this purple color, started peeking through on 4 of them. So one little 4-pack had been mislabeled, and this was a very nice find and a very nice surprise.
All right. Yes. Okay, so when to plant group 1 cool season crops. So you would plant seeds indoors in the winter of broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, and cauliflower. Quick note on Brussels sprouts, that I have tried planting Brussels sprouts 2 or 3 times in my garden. It's like an aphid hotel. I don't know. So you can try it. Go ahead. I love Brussels sprouts, but I don't like eating aphids. Make sure you harden off your starts before you put them outside in their position. And these are plants that you would start outside when the soil temperatures reach 50 degrees by seed, that list at the bottom. And just look at this. Is your mouth watering yet? I hope so. So some of these cole crops can take snow and ice and frost, and they love it. They're going, yeah, I'm a tough guy. Your carrots, you can leave those in the ground well into fall, into winter. I would not leave them in the ground through spring. Anybody done that and tried to eat them? Or beets? What's your experience? Yeah,
They're bitter.
they're bitter, they're hard, they're grainy, they're woody. So, yeah, just a few months. Okay, fresh peas, oh, yum. When to plant group 2 cool season crops. So these, you would plant these by seed, direct sow, outdoors, in April in zones 5 and 6. I don't know what zone you are in. The higher the number, the warmer it is. The lower the number, the colder it is. So beets, carrots, parsnips, potatoes, Swiss chard. You notice beets were on here a couple of times? So some of them can handle a little bit more cool than others. So have frost protection supplies, what we showed you, ready, and watch those temperature forecasts just in case. And it's better to cover anytime the temperature is forecast to go down to 40 degrees, you cover those babies, and just in case, because you don't want to wake up in the morning and you have black wilted frozen goo going, no. Then you can plant a second round of cool season crops in August or early September. You need to protect them from the frost, especially when they're little. When they're little babies, they're tender. So protect those from the frost. Here in this area, we have had a frost as early as Labor Day. I don't know if any of you remember that. And we've had a late frost as late as the first week of June. Some of you in other parts of the country go, oh yeah, that's normal. And in higher elevations, that's pretty normal. So you got to watch them. You're the caretaker of them. And we already talked about the burlap method. Oh, see this bed? Catherine, explain why you put pieces of wood in the bed lengthwise.
You
Put
have
you on
a-
the spot there, didn't
No,
I?
because you have a different reason for why I did it. I have an artistic brain,
Yes.
and so it was just a separation. It helped guide me make my rows, and it helped me separate
Separate the species.
the species. Yeah.
Yes.
So lettuce,
Mm-hmm.
spinach, kale, arugula.
Yep. Very nice. Yeah. Was that last night, night before? We've been working late on this. She was telling me, speaking of artistic gardens, she used to be at the Water Conservation Garden for 10 years. And one year she planted this very beautiful swirly garden and a diagonal garden with alternating colors of plants. Yeah. And she's the artist. Okay.
There is joy
beautiful.
in watching plants in an artistic way grow, and
Yes.
that would be me.
Yes.
And Mitzi is a broadcast them out, poke them down the ground, and walk away.
Yep. Easy.
So.
Okay. Benefits of a second crop. It adds variety to your spring and fall harvests, and you're able to utilize the same area a second time. You're maximizing your harvest. Okay. Succession planting. This is an awesome way of a constant harvest. What is it? Well, you plant a section, and then you're going to want to plant the whole thing. Oh, there's blank soil. I want to plant it. Nope. You just plant a section. 2 weeks later, you plant the next little section. 2 weeks later, you plant the next little section, and 2 weeks later, you plant the next little section. By golly, you're going to have a constant harvest. Because once, especially beets or what do we do? We have another list. Anyway, you have lettuce,
green beans.
green beans. Yeah, lettuces especially. This is awesome for. You're gonna harvest this, and then that's done, and then you're gonna harvest this and eat that, and then that's done, and then by the time after you've harvested, you replant. So you always have something going. It's awesome. Succession planting. What crops work best? Beets, basil, broccoli, carrots, corn, green beans, leafy greens, onions, radishes. This picture shows corn. Succession planting. Awesome. I would use a quick maturing variety. This may or may not work if you have a short window, a short summer season, especially for corn, something that takes like 120 days to mature. Succession planting might not work for that crop, but short maturing things would. Relay planting is a type of succession planting. This is a field instead of a home, but it's a great picture. I want you to see this. So they have planted, I'm not even sure what that straight crop is, but they've planted something, and in between the rows of that upright thing, whatever it is, I'm not a farmer. I should have married one, but I didn't. Anyway, in between the rows, they have planted a different crop that came up later. And then when they harvested the first one, then the second one was ready. Ta-da! They're maximizing their space. Okay, companion planting. This is a symbiotic association. Anybody know what symbiosis is? What is a symbiosis? Nope. Okay, it's a win-win when you have the benefits of one and you have the benefits of the other, but together, 1 + 1 = 3, not just 2. It's maximizing the benefits of both of them working together. Okay, that's companion planting. So it's where you grow one plant species near another one. It helps with disease control, insect control, etc. Here we have a picture of nasturtiums with some squash because nasturtiums repel the pests that might inhabit the squash, like the squash bugs. Man, you get squash bugs on your squash, it'll collapse in a week or 2.
Oh, in days.
Yeah, pretty bad.
Who's had nasturtiums?
You've had
squash
squash
bugs.
bugs? Yeah.
Who's eaten nasturtiums?
They're edible.
Yeah.
Cool.
They're very, very good. As well as they control the disease.
Yeah. Nasturtiums don't like transplanting. They're pretty picky, so you need to put their seeds in the ground where you want them to grow, and they'll be happy. Okay, benefits of companion planting. It increases the plant growth, sometimes for both. It deters pests. It attracts beneficial insects. It helps with shade regulation to shade your plants. Provides natural structural supports in some cases. Improves your plant health, soil fertility, and the more plants you have covering the ground, the less the weed seeds can germinate. So it's weed suppression. You do have to be careful not to crowd too much, because then they're competing for those precious nutrients, water, light, soil nutrients, and such. Okay, here's an example from the Native Americans. It's called Three Sisters. How many of you have heard of Three Sisters? Okay, so they planted their corn, and that provided the structure. Around the corn, they planted pole beans, and the beans are able to climb up the corn stalk for structure to get to the light. Hello, sun. And the beans They are a legume. They fix nitrogen in the soil. It's a symbiotic association in itself with the rhizobium bacteria that live in the soil. And the bean plants actually make little homes, little round nodules on their roots for the rhizobium bacteria. Come on in. I got a house for you right here. And tell you what, I'll provide a house for you if you go fix that atmospheric nitrogen and change it into ammonia and nitrates, all that good stuff. Now I can utilize the nitrogen. N2 in the air, plants can't use it, but it has to be changed to a form that it can be utilized. So the bean does this. Corn is a heavy feeder. So the corn says, oh, thank you, I needed that nitrogen. I'm starving. And so it's a win-win. And then the squash is planted outside, and it helps to shade the root zone and shade the beans and such. And so you have all three. Did you know that a legume, like beans, and a grain, like corn, you combine those, and the amino acids that are different in each one of them combined make a complete protein? Wow, all those people all over the world that eat legumes and grains as their protein, they're pretty smart. Yep. We can do that too, by the way, when we can't get meat. Legumes and grains. Wheat is a grain. Beans is a legume. Rice is a grain, etc. Okay, symbiotic. That's a plug for you, Marcelo. Symbiotic companions. You need to look these up yourself. There are so many different choices. I put one link on here for Farmer's Almanac, the companion planting guide, but there's books on it. Just research it. There's all kinds of information everywhere. Marigolds and cabbage, companion plants, basil and tomatoes, garlic and potatoes, nasturtium and all the brassica family. You'll also find what not to put together. There's some plants that don't do well together. Like one plant might inhibit the growth of another. Okay, do you want to talk? Interplanting. Here you go. They've heard from me enough.
Interplanting is similar to companion planting. So, but if you can see here, we've got collard greens. What do you see in the middle of those?
Garlic.
Garlic. Yeah, the garlic scapes.
Yep.
So that had to been planted. Well, the garlic is planted in the fall, and then of course your collard greens right next to it. Yeah. This is a way for saving space. You have your quick plants that grow fairly fast and your ones that grow fairly slow. So you can start I wouldn't say lettuce and tomatoes because those two don't combine, but you'd have your slow ones that you would go ahead and plant, and then plant your quick ones around them. Again, saving your space.
I like to use radishes as a row marker because radishes will come up very quickly, and I'll plant a few radishes in amongst something else that comes up a little slow. It takes a little longer to mature and fill out the space. And after a month, the radishes are harvested, and by that time, the other plant is then finally mature. So that's another way you can kill two birds with one stone, as my dad used to say. Okay, here's an example of that. You got a lot of different things going on. You're maximizing your space, but you do have to be careful not to plant too much. But you're harvesting one thing, and that relieves the space for the next thing next to it that's a slower growing, slower maturing, to then take over that space. But in the meantime, you didn't have weeks and weeks of the sun beating down on the bare soil. You got something covering it, and you're utilizing that. Go ahead.
Okay, so there you see you have a tomato in amongst all your carrots. Carrots are going down, tomatoes are growing up. One's faster, the tomato is a bit much slower. So when you're have finished harvesting all your carrots, then you have this tomato plant that's taken its place. You've got
Lettuce, and
lettuce,
something.
tomato,
Onions.
onions. Yes.
Yeah.
Lettuce and onions. Again, I have, you saw the grow boxes, so I have to make use of my grow boxes like this so that I can get a maximum harvest out of the small space. And a lot of you say you have your grow boxes, and you've heard about the square foot gardening. Okay. Who does in-ground, solely in-ground? Anybody? Nobody.
I do.
Wow. That's a whole nother.
Yeah.
Okay, interplanting. I with my artistic garden, that's when I got my rows of carrots and beets. Same concept here. They're both growing together, but they
Near each other.
are near each other.
So this is a wide row, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. And you can do this interplanting within a wide row in this method.
Do you want to show the wide row?
Not yet.
Okay. Again, late and early, slow and fast.
Okay. Oh, I like to talk about that one.
Okay.
This is how I garden. I have a little 1/4 acre in the suburbs, and I don't have this big garden area that I used to have. When I lived in Arizona, I had a garden area, golly, it was about a 1/4 acre. It was big, and that's what we ate. But now I just have my front yard and a little area in the backyard, and I just have my beds, my flower beds. So instead of planting the whole thing in annuals, and I don't have money for that, I will put vegetables in there. They can be quite attractive. Look at that. You already have your space. You already have the sunlight, and my beds have the 8 hours a day. So I've got the sunlight there. You already have soil you've already been enriching, and you already have irrigation, although it probably is overhead watering and not drip watering, probably. So you have to balance. There might be some pros and cons you have to balance. But some of these, look at that, kale and cabbages and such. Here's some Swiss chard in the front. I planted beets in my curved bed by my grass in my front yard one year. And another year I planted green beans. And the neighbor kids come over and they poke around in the garden. What a wonderful thing. They're learning. They're learning and they're picking. I said, try that. Eat that green bean. Oh, that's good. It's raw, but they don't. It's very tasty and sweet. So it's an opportunity for kids to learn also. Okay. Intensive planting. Now, a lot of these are kind of similar and they kind of cross over, but intensive planting is where you maximize all of your space. And this, you have to kind of balance, okay? You're going to ignore the plant more densely by ignoring the plant spacing suggestions on the tags or the seed packets. And as long as you have plants covering the soil and there's enough space that they're going to be having access to all of their nutrients and light and such that they need, then that's good. It encourages less weeds because there's no bare soil showing. It allows for more variety in your harvest and it's less boring. Creates a situation that your soil will retain moisture better. And your harvest, you'll get more food. Like this. One problem with square foot gardening you have to be careful about is overplanting. Think about the mature size of the plant because it's really easy to create a dense forest, and then you're going to have scrawny plants that are trying to outcompete each other for the light, and You need to think about that ahead of time. But realize that each plant usually grows in about a circle unless they're sprawlers. So if you kind of stagger the circles, they'll take up the space in between each one. Okay, this is something I've done a lot of. Utilize your above ground space and your below ground space. So here's just a simplified version of that. We've got onions here. Onions are very skinny at the top, and especially the bulb onions are going to be a little bit bigger in the bottom. You can plant those in amongst your Swiss chard, like you saw the picture back there with the chard and the garlic. Yes. So utilize the upper space, utilize the lower space, and you can maximize your space this way. Wide rows. Okay, this is my specialty. When I had a Troy-built rototiller, the instructions with that taught me how to do wide rows, and I love wide rows. I'm going to demonstrate that. I need 4 volunteers. 4 volunteers to hold one of these sticks each. Okay, Barbara, come on down. Whoops. So here, can you help these 2 over here? One there at that corner, one at that corner. We're going to make this section here a wide row.
We need one. Let's have you
Need a
stand
couple
there.
more people. Christopher, okay, hold that right here. And I need one more person. Thank you. Can you hold this here? Okay, we're going to pretend like you are out in the garden and you have measured the sides of your area and you have decided this is going to be my 3-foot wide row. And then my 1.5-foot walkway, and then a 3-foot wide row, and then a 1.5-foot walkway. So you're going to get stakes and you're going to put them down after you've measured it out and made a little mark. You're going to pound the stakes 3 foot apart, 1.5 foot apart, 3 foot on both sides. So pretend like we've done that. Then you're going to take string. You're going to tie it around each stake. So hold it down as if it's in the ground and go around once or twice. You got to hold it tight once or twice around, and that'll hold it nice and tight. This is just to mark your rows. And then once or twice around. And then we're going to go down here. If my kids are watching, you remember seeing me do this, right? I gave them the link. Hi, kids. Okay. Once around and over here. Okay. You probably won't have to go back this way because you're going to be going that way. Okay, this is a wide row. Now you're going to take a hoe, which I don't have, but I do have this. And you're going to make a mark in the soil right underneath where that string is. And you're going to make a mark here. Dig a little furrow on all the way down in your garden. Row, walkway, row, walkway, whatever you have designed. Then you're done with the string. Wind it up. Now you have your rows marked. Okay, wind up the string. Thank you so much. Give our helpers a round of applause. Okay. Thank you so much. Now you're going to take a yard rake. This bad boy, this is a 3-foot yard rake. This is the fast way to plant. I'm not about standing or kneeling down on my knees for an inordinate amount of time going 1 little seed, push it in the ground, 2 little seeds, 6 hours to go, you know, nope. Now I'm going to do it this way. I'm standing in the aisle, actually on the other side of the aisle, and I am, let's say it's beans, and I want them a good inch deep. I'm going to pull the soil across I'm taking off 1 inch of soil and mounding it in the walkway. 1 inch or 1 pull, taking off 1 inch of soil, 1 inch of soil all the way down this row. And then I'll come through and I will, with this flat side, I'll level it out. So it's a nice level seed bed. And then I'll take my seeds. I'll take my seeds and I'll have them in a bucket. Here, chick, 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 chick. Here, chick, 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 chick. You spread it out like chicken feed. I don't care that they're exactly 4 inches apart or 6 inches apart. It's an average. And then I'll come through and I don't have to poke each one because here's the top right here. And then I'll come on this side and I'll take the hill and I'll pull it really fast over the top and pull it really fast and pull it really fast. And then I'll just take this really lightly and level it out real lightly because you don't want to dig them out again. And then I'll go like this. Tamp, 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 tamp. And it puts them to bed. And then I'll water them nice and deep, not just 1 inch deep, 3, 4 inches deep. Then when the roots come out, they go, oh, water's down there. Ta-da! You have a nice wide row, thickly planted. It's just the right size to kneel on both sides to harvest it. Questions? Okay, we gotta go through a lot faster now. Grow vertically. Catherine? Go ahead. This is Catherine's garden. So you take the horizontal and you push it up vertical. It's kind of like a tsunami when it reaches the shore. Okay? And that's her dog. Hi, Jackson. Look at this. You don't have to let him sprawl and use horizontal space. Your horizontal space is precious. Use vertical space. So you just make different structures and they'll go vertical. My sister did this in her garden. It was just a lovely arch. We did 3 sisters, and we made teepees and arches and all kinds of things. Here's some other examples. Isn't this pretty? And look, amazingly, the normally heavy things, they are stronger. They're tough because they have to be. Cucumbers. If you have a watermelon and you do this, you might want to make a sling for it. But yeah, you can make your own structures like a teepee with bamboo, and kids will love it. It could be very attractive. You could spend a lot of money on your garden if you want it to be super nice looking, or buy some panels down at Lowe's or whatever, or just use whatever you have. You can scrounge. Look at that. Gets them off the ground to get more air, less bugs eating them. And that's an attractive trellis too, a vertical trellis. We did that one time when we had pole beans. And those things grew like, I don't know, Debbie, 10 feet tall or something. It was amazing. Rain gutters. Mount them to a fence. And then you don't have to bend over to eat to pick your produce. And it's attractive. Make sure that's not a north-facing fence, though. In the northern hemisphere, the sun never is zenith. It's always to the south, so south-facing fence would be great. Okay, isn't that fun?
Can you go back to that picture? I noticed that on the right-hand side there, angle. Is that so the water kind of runs down?
Yeah, yeah. Good idea. Yep. Vertical containers. Do you like that one? Isn't that fun? Jeans? Cute. Yeah. All right. Use a shoe rack, a shoe bag. Be creative. Okay, can you talk about how you got all of those?
So the vertical garden that you saw at the very beginning of this section, where I just had the teepee, it's cattle fencing. My beds are 8 feet long, so it's just 8 feet. This is how many I Got off of just that one section. 8 feet by, my beds are 4 feet wide.
Butternut squash on a vertical structure.
So
That's pretty amazing. Okay, you can put all those. Melons? Really? Cucumbers? Pumpkins? I
they're
wouldn't use-
pretty, they're actually pretty strong.
Yeah.
They'll hang there on that structure and be fine.
Yeah. I just learned something about watermelon I want to share with you really fast, even though I know it's 8 o'clock already. Watermelons, when they, those little tendrils that they have, those curly cues, the one that's real close, the closest tendril to the stem that's attached to the melon itself, when that tendril goes brown, the melon is done.
That's true for all of your squashes, your winter squashes, your pumpkins, your butternuts.
Yeah. Okay, container gardens. This is for small space gardening. I have a few containers here just to demonstrate. You can have different kinds of containers. Why grow vegetables in containers? Well, you can move them around if you need to. They're attractive. There's a lot of choices: plastic, clay, ceramics, etc., baskets. You can grow plants on a patio or a veranda of an apartment or a condo. And you can grow more food, better weed and insect control also. There are some downsides too, but here's some different container options. Look at that. Isn't that fun? Another vertical growing in containers. There's a metal trough. Quite fun. Combine container growing with vertical growing. Voila. Patio containers. They can be quite attractive. And I brought my pot. Can you help me with this, Catherine? I don't have any soil in it. But my friend that lives in a condo, I won't tell you her name. But she has this little teeny tiny patio outside of her door of her condo. And she had one, I brought one of these over for her. And she had a tomato in it. Just staked it down. You need the stake to help it from going. And she had tomatoes right there, pick and eat. Tomatoes in her patio. Okay. How about that? Isn't that fun? I'm gonna have to try this, but I need a bigger property in order to do this. Yeah, tomato plants right there in the blue jeans. Very fun. Okay, what plants do you put in containers? You can go, when this is posted on Thrivalist, you can go back here and look at it, or just research it yourself. A lot of different things can grow in containers. They're getting pictures. 1, 2, 3. Okay. The needs for vegetables in containers, they have specific soil needs. You can only use potting soil. Don't put your native soil, don't dig up soil from your yard and put it in a container, because the soil structure is then ruined. The air and the water cannot go sideways and up and down and diagonal, and it turns into a brick. So don't do that. You will need to buy some potting soil and put it in your container for it to work. You have to water.
You also need to replace that soil at least every other year.
Yeah, because it'll have different disease problems perhaps, and
Nutrient deficiency.
yeah, nutrient deficiency. They will
Go
need.
ahead. You had.
Oh yeah.
So
Question.
if you have a container and you cannot put a different plant in that same. If you have a container plant, like a tomato plant, the following year, like if you can do it for 2 years, does it need to still be a tomato plant, or can it be a beet?
Same rules apply for containers, for raised beds, for in-ground planting. You always, always, always have to rotate your plants where you plant them. The soil, each type of plant has a different nutrient need. And so, for example, calcium will be robbed out of the soil with a tomato plant. And beets take out a different nutrient. So that nutrient will be deficient in that soil. So by rotating, then the plants take up what they need, what the different nutrient needs.
But you'd only want to do that twice.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
your nutrients that are in your potting mix could be exhausted, depleted. And I recommend you put some slow release fertilizer on it, because then during the season it will give nutrients to your plants. Yes.
You repurpose that potting mixture. Can you repurpose that potting mixture into something else in your yard?
Oh,
like
yeah.
into a flower bed and just till it
Flower
in?
bed is a
Something
perfect
just-
place.
Yep.
Okay.
Do that all the time. It'll help to fluff up your soil and add a little bit more organic matter with the peat moss that's in it. Your container plants are captive, and you are their jailer, and you are in charge of giving it food and water. And if you don't, nobody will. So,
Mitzi,
yes, question.
do you still need to rotate if you're doing the intermittent or group planting like beans and corn?
Yes. Yeah. And I didn't even mention about tomatoes. I've got a picture of tomato here. Just want to mention tomatoes. Tomatoes have a microorganism that causes a disease called verticillium wilt. And it actually it plugs up their tubes, their xylem. And so there might be water in the soil, but if their xylem is plugged up, the tubes that bring water up from the roots, then they can't get water and they wilt. It's called verticillium wilt. That microorganism stays in the soil and it's not very mobile. I'm talking about the ground. It's not very mobile. So, but its favorite plants are potatoes and tomatoes. So you've got to move your tomatoes every year to a different spot. And the fourth year, then it can come back around, because by that time, those microbes will probably be killed, dead, because their favorite food wasn't there. So that's another reason why you need to rotate. Okay, avoid dark colored pots. Why? Too hot. The root zone will get too hot. And I put that picture there on purpose. Plan of action. We're almost done, folks. Plan of action. Plan your work, work your plan. So these are some time and energy saving tips. Delegate your maintenance and harvesting chores. Invite the grandkids over. Teach youth to love gardening and love helping you. What a wonderful opportunity to teach them. And they will learn to love gardening. I grew up in the garden, following my dad around the garden like a puppy. And I tell you, once that potting soil gets underneath your fingernails, it infects you and you never recover. And so I went to school and majored in horticulture and then tried to do just horticulture for a job and found out that that didn't make any money, but I sure love it. But kids will be able to be more self-sufficient if they can grow plants and take care of themselves. And they will help you. And then they grow into teenagers and they can really help you. Visit your garden daily with a small bucket and a weeder tool. How you doing, little plants? Oh, let me see, you got any? Oh, there's some aphids under you. I'll go get the safer soap. All gone. You know, you got to get those little weeds when they're little, not when they're this big, taller than your vegetables. Take care of issues immediately. There you go. Visit your garden, talk to your plants, sing to them, give them a little CO2, and they'll give you O2 in return. All right. Yes?
What is safer soap?
Oh, safer soap is a biological insecticide. It has, it's like a soap. You can actually make it yourself. You can mix up water in a spray bottle and add a few drops of dish soap like Palmolive. And I would add some capsicum, some red peppers, powdered, really fine capsicum to that, because the bugs, and you spray that on your leaves, It doesn't hurt you, but the bugs eat it and they go, "Aye, chili peppers, hot, 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 hot," and they don't want to eat it. If the soap sprays on the body of the insect, it suffocates them because that's their exoskeleton. They can't breathe. It's good stuff. Okay, you're going to plan for next year. When you're all done with your garden, plan for next year. I would make your plan for next year at the end of the season. Oh, next year I'm going to rotate the crop this way, or quarter turn, or whatever. And once you have that plan for next year already written out, while it's fresh on your mind, you don't have to remember in the springtime. What was that? What did I do? What should I do now? I can't remember what I did last. Where did I have this? And where did I have that? This is my dad's book. My dad's been gone for over a decade, but I still have his precious garden book and his designs. And he kept each design every year. So he knew from year to year where he put the tomatoes, where were those, this, and where was that. And he has his resources in here, and it's just a UNLA gardening guide. You know, you've got all your stuff together in one spot. This is precious to me. Precious. Okay. Yes.
So if I'm doing container gardening and I have to replace that soil every 2 years, what about these raised beds? Because they're basically a container.
They are. And I highly recommend that you keep adding a little bit of compost each year to your raised beds. At the school where I'm at, 15, 16 years ago, we installed some raised beds, and a nursery nearby, I think it was Glover Nursery, donated the soil for our school garden. There was 10 4x8 beds. And now the plants that have been, we haven't added more soil, and the soil's down about half because the plants have been eating it through the years. So you do have to replenish it and add more organic matter, just like you would outside. And that'll help neutralize it. Okay, plan your work, then work your plan, and this will increase your garden abundance. And you'll have a wonderful harvest. And I applaud you for your work in advance. Round of applause for all of you for coming. Thank you so much. I want you to come into the store and tell us about your wonderful harvest. And you guys that are elsewhere, tell us about your harvest. And I hope that some of these tips and tricks have been helpful for you. Catherine, Marcelo, thank you so much. And thanks
Awesome.
for joining us.
Can we take a few minutes to
Yes.
ask more questions?
Sure.
Does anybody have any questions? We have about 10 more minutes. Let's just go around. And by the way, take some time online and here, again, just go to Google and just do a little review for us, and that helps us out.
How do you get rid of roly-polies in the garden? Because they eat our starts that we put in.
You bring in 5-year-olds, like my daughter and my son, and
pay them.
they will take every single one of them and bring them in the house.
I'm not sure. I don't know if diatomaceous earth will kill those. I don't think so. Diatomaceous earth is for the soft-bodied larvae and worms and such, because it's like shards of broken glass to them when they crawl over it. Yeah, I'm not sure what will kill roly-polies,
The
but
best way we've found to fight them is put corn cobs out.
corn
They
cobs,
love corn cobs.
Oh, yeah.
like
I've
an
done-
attractant. Oh, it's a magnet for them. Ah,
Yes,
got it.
I've done
Corn
that
cobs.
before with squash bugs, where you have a host plant,
Uh-huh.
and you just let all them. You don't care about what happens to that, so it distracts them from.
Yes. And then you get a plastic bag and you carefully wrap it around there and tie it off at the bottom, and then make sure it's really tight, and you put it in the garbage right before the garbage man picks it up. No, there's some great organic ways of, look up IPM, Integrated Pest Management. You use the cultural methods first, and then you use the biological. Anyway, there's 4 steps. The last is the chemical. You don't just get the big guns out first. You try your cultural methods first, proper light, air, water, you know, making sure that they're taken care of first. And then you can it's hand picking things off, and weeding and such. And then your biologicals like the safer soap and the Bacillus thuringiensis, your BT, and your biological stuff. And then lastly, you go to the chemicals, the herbicides and the insecticides and such.
Here.
Question? Oh, you had a question?
Right there and then.
Okay.
Okay, so we need to add more, what is that stuff? Compost. So when you go to like Home Depot, there's a million choices. How do you know which one to choose when you're?
And you have a raised bed?
Yeah.
Okay. They have topsoil. Topsoil has a lot more sand in it than other soil mixes. They have the ones that have, without saying, they have chemical fertilizers already mixed in there. I try to stay away from them. But you've got your compost. Sometimes what I'll do depends on what your soil looks like. Okay, then just a good fine compost without your chemicals. Yeah, you don't want to have. I would say fine.
I wish for this area we used to have a yard waste treatment plant where up by the dump where you could take your yard waste, no garbage, just tree branches and leaves and stuff, and they would cut it all up, windrow it, and water it in and turn it with their big loaders every so often until it was finished compost. And it had lots of available nitrogen in it. They closed the yard waste plant. You used to be able to go and fill up your back of your truck for $25.
Yeah, that's too bad. Do you have a space in your yards to do a small compost?
We've never tried it before.
Okay, you have grass clippings. You have leaves. You have soil. You have water.
Coffee grounds,
grounds,
vegetable scraps, eggshells.
Stick it all in there. You do need to turn it and moisten it regularly.
I wouldn't put, if you have put an herbicide on your lawn, I wouldn't add that grass. No, because typically like a dandelion killer, it's on that, the 4-step that you get different bags. If there's a dandelion killer, that's a broadleaf killer. It could be 2,4-D or something like that. That will kill anything with the broad leaf, but not your narrow leaves. Don't put those grass clippings in your compost pile. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
So what about steer manure? Bags of steer manure, is that a good additive for grow boxes?
I would make it thin, not too heavy and thick. Yeah, mix it in really well as one of the ingredients. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, if you're going to use the steer manure, best time of the year would be your fall, because it can actually be too hot for your young seedlings. So I would go stock up on it when it's on sale. Store it
In the fall.
Put it on in the fall. Let it
work its magic
over winter.
Yeah,
and then till it in.
And then I just had a comment. I wanted to know if you had heard of Jerry Baker. I didn't see his book here, but I just finished
this
with
one right here.
Jerry
Baker's Supermarket Super Gardens.
It's full of tonics that'll kill aphids, squash bugs, you name it. Everything is in that book. So that's Jerry Baker's. The book I have is different than that.
Here's
one,
Jerry.
yeah, he has some really great recipes
Yeah.
in there
for your lawn, for everything. So
Great, thank you. Okay.
Any
other
more questions?
One.
Do you have any comments about eradicating box elder beetles that come in from your neighbor's property?
Ugh. Your neighbor has a female box elder tree. Cut it down. No, I didn't say that.
Well, I've already thought about that, and I've got a pole saw. So, but I know it kills them. But I spent hours just trying to maintain them from taking over my yard
Yes.
with Dawn and water and this pumps, but it kills them.
Ugh.
It just takes time.
Yeah.
Would diatomaceous earth work on them, do you think? Still not, right? Okay.
Dawn is cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Dawn,
soap. It's a
Dawn and
soap.
water.
Pump up sprayer, and I
Yeah.
have my grandkids, and they like to go out.
Dawn soap.
As soon as you spray them, they just drop, boom.
Yeah.
Little Dawn and water. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't
And
measure it. I just squirt it in, fill it up, pump it up.
And I like to put red, very fine red pepper. I've had red pepper just get out of my spice cabinet mixed in with that mix, but it has clogged up the orifices of my sprayer, so it has to be super fine. But that will help too, because whatever they eat, they won't want to eat it anymore after that. It's like super hot peppers to them. Yeah. Any other questions? One more.
Going back to heirloom seeds.
Heirlooms.
How do you guarantee that the seeds you harvest are not cross-pollinated and are still heirlooms?
That's a good question. How do you guarantee that they're not cross-pollinated? Well, if you plant your cantaloupes, heirloom cantaloupes, right by your heirloom honeydews, you're going to have cantadews. Because the bees will go to one and they'll go visit the other. And I've had that. They're actually quite delicious. But those cantadews, yeah, you might not want to save those. But you might. I don't know. Try them. It's all an experiment. No, just plant your, maybe you want to plant your cantaloupes at your brother's house. And then he gives you the cantaloupes, you give him the honeydews, and there you go.
cover a few flowers
I heard somebody solve that by self-pollinating a couple flowers and then covering them. And those are the ones they save the seeds from. Just covering the little flower. As soon as it's start producing, you don't have to cover it anymore because it's not pollinating anymore.
So like with a very
idea.
fine net.
Yes.
That the light can still go through and cover those flowers. That's a good idea if you want to go through that. That's the kind of thing my dad did. That's why I followed him around. He was doing cross-pollination experiments in the backyard. Any other questions? All right.
Yeah, I think we did it, huh? That was awesome.
Thank you.
And we got 5 minutes to spare. They were amazing. Just to remind everybody about the perma garden barn raising, the food forest, and the information's here. And take some time to do. Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. Come on. He was waiting. My boy wanted to say thank you for coming. Go ahead.
Thank you all for coming.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Okay, for you guys that are here in person, if you're interested, we have a sign-up sheet if you want some horticulture help, either a yard consultation or or regular maintenance on your yard or a special project. Or if you have a garden and you can't take care of it, if you know somebody that has a garden that can't take care of it, and you want somebody to take care of the garden and give them the produce, ta-da, then especially Catherine and me sometimes can help with that. Okay, thanks. And this will be over on the table. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you.